Now, though, we turn to a very different story, one that is closer to home, and it involves a woman named Marissa Devois, a young mother of three. There she is on trial for alleged murder in a case filled with lurid charges of greed, infidelity, and cold-blooded violence. And it's all playing out against the same backdrop as the infamous Jodi Arias case. In fact, there are eerie similarities here, including the defendant's bizarre behavior and even their defense strategy. So will it work this time? We welcome ABC's Ryan Smith to Nightline for this report for our series, Crime and Punishment.
A gruesome crime, salacious details.
So you began having sex the first day you met?
Correct.
It's like a twisted case of deja vu. Tonight in Arizona, in the very setting where the famous Jodi Arias murder trial unfolded, a jury is now mulling the case of another young woman with eerily similar circumstances.
So how many times do you think you had?
That's 36-year-old Marissa Devois, mother of three. She is accused of killing her husband, Dale Harrell, with a hammer as he slept in January of 2009. She pleaded not guilty, claiming self-defense, snapping after years of physical and sexual abuse from her husband. It is almost the same defense claimed by Jodi Arias, convicted last year for stabbing, shooting, and slashing her longtime lover, Travis Alexander.
The simple answer is that he attacked me, and I defended myself. He called me a bitch, and he kicked me in the ribs, and got on top of me and started choking me.
What are the key similarities between this trial and the Jodi Arias trial?
They are both charged with capital murder, and they both claim that they were abused by their husband, boyfriend, by their lovers.
In both cases, the prosecution painting each defendant as a cold, calculating killer, starting with the interrogation tapes. Devois, hours after the killing, is seen laughing awkwardly, describing the events of the night.
I saw a hammer go into Dale's head.
Her strange behavior, not far off from Jodi Arias' conversations with herself.
You should have at least done your makeup, Jodi, gosh.
And handstands. And the blame game. Devois originally told police she saw her roommate, Stanley Cook, murder her husband, only to change her story to self-defense.
So Stan didn't have, and Stan was in there. No.
Arias had three stories. First, she wasn't there.
I was nowhere near Mesa. I wasn't even close to him.
Then, masked robbers killed her lover.
There were two people there. One was a guy and one was a girl.
What did they say?
Yeah, the girl wanted to kill me too.
Before eventually asserting self-defense.
Which story do you want to believe?
And even that defense bears similarity between the two cases. Both women claim that they were victims of a pattern of abuse, a claim known as battered women's syndrome. But while Devois had a witness to the alleged abuse, her teenage daughter, Arias had no corroborating witnesses. The claim is a battered women's syndrome claim and also a PTSD claim. What are the parameters of this kind of defense?
There was an expert who did say that she suffers from PTSD, and that is consistent with battered women's syndrome, somebody who has been repeatedly abused. We saw this in the Jodi Arias trial. If you're suffering from PTSD, you can allege, and maybe a jury will buy it, that, you've just kind of snapped.
What did you yell before? Because you said you yelled sometimes.
You don't know me. I really put a hand in it.
But there are a lot of people with PTSD, so it's not necessarily a strong defense.
And then there's the crime scenes. In the Arias trial, the brutal crime scene displayed prominently throughout the trial. And in the Devois case, the jury has shown these replicas of her husband's skull, evidence of a savage attack.
With each blow of that hammer, she's knocking chunks of bone out. She's smashing chunks of bone that have already been broken. She's smashing brain tissue underneath.
But significant differences in these two cases. In the Devois case, the motive, nothing at all like the spurned lover prosecutors claim Jodi Arias was.
Why are you still acting as his booty call?
I was making a string of bad choices during that time in my life.
Prosecutors claim Marissa Devois hatched a life insurance scheme.
Marissa's a woman who likes money. But more than that, she likes easy money. So once the defendant thought that all that money was in place, she set her plan in action. She set her plan in action to kill Dale Harrell.
Money they claim she was planning to use to pay back the man she was having an affair with, from whom she borrowed hundreds of thousands of dollars.
She was incredibly attractive.
This is not good for the defense because she's not very likable.
How does that play into her battered women syndrome / PTSD claims, as the jury might see it? Because don't you have to have sympathy in order to try to buy that argument?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, a lot of people will think that if you're a battered woman, then you're weak because you should be able to walk away. You should, and that's not necessarily the case. However, this is a woman, Marissa Dubois, who is strong, who was able to lead a double life.
And one of their most powerful pieces of evidence, the defendant's own hands, her perfectly manicured nails and light bruising, which show little trace of a struggle between Dubois and her husband.
There didn't appear to be any defensive wounds on her at all.
Tonight, Dubois' fate is in the hands of a jury, while she sits in the same jail as Jodi Arias, where the two have reportedly become friends.
What do you think is the primary question that they will be asking themselves in that jury room?
They will probably be trying to put themselves in Marissa Dubois' place in the bedroom the night that she killed her husband. I mean, that's the critical question. Was she justified when she grabbed the hammer?
Dubois faces the death penalty if convicted, as does Jodi Arias, who was found guilty of murder but has yet to be sentenced.
We, the jury, do find the defendant as to count 1, first-degree murder, guilty.
Death penalty on the table in this case. What do you think the possibility is that she will get the death penalty?
Prosecutors don't seek death against women that often because when you look at who women kill, women primarily kill their children, their lovers, their husbands. They usually kill people they're emotionally tied to.
For Nightline, I'm Ryan Smith in New York.